Like, no matter whatever you're doing out here, how shitty you feel, how bad you feel, what's going on, what's hurting out there on this course, where you're at mentally, if it's dark and it's cold and everybody else is throwing in the towel, like, that dude has no idea how you got there, but he is so freaking proud of you. Hey, welcome back.
Are we already recording?
Yeah, we're recording. Welcome back to the Next in Line podcast, y'all.
Mic check. Nice. Look at that.
You're supposed to do that before we start this.
We technically did, but you know.
Why not just throw it in
Why
there?
not just throw one more live one in
Just
there,
make
man?
sure we're golden.
Yeah, something like
No.
that.
Hey, first and foremost, we're going to have a little bit of a change in agenda today. You might have noticed from the title, but we're going to reroute just a little bit. We've got a really, really big event coming up. A week from today, we'll actually be sitting at an Airbnb in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona to be exact. Glendale-ish, north side of Phoenix.
Something like that.
And we will be 2 days out from towing the line at the Cocodona 250. Now that is a 250-mile ultra marathon for those of y'all that don't know or haven't kept up with it to this point. But because of this event, we wanted to do an overview. We wanted to answer some questions we've been asked around it, and just give some highlights of what this event is and what it means to us. And for that reason, we are going to go ahead and wait on Matthew chapter 16. I think with the amount of focus we've had on prepping for Cocodona 250, we haven't done our due diligence and homework enough to speak on Matthew 16 the way we would like to.
Yeah.
At least I haven't.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes two of us, man.
So I think we're going to wait and put in a little bit more time and effort on that. We've both definitely read through 16, studied on it a little bit. I've gotten sidetracked, studied in some other areas of the Bible, between Romans, between Book of Acts.
Dude, I was going to say, I've been diving into Romans a little bit. I was talking to Evan, actually, about it.
Really?
And we're just talking about some different mindsets within it, too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
He's speaking to the dang microphone, man.
There you go. Aim at the microphone when you talk, big dog.
I just tend to just look up and look over to you, and microphone doesn't follow. So
You do, but that's okay.
I need one of them, like, just
Yeah, well, we need directional mics, like omnidirectional mics.
details. It's all
Yeah,
good.
we'll get into that. Y'all don't have to worry about that out there. YouTube,
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Spotify,
sidetrack you.
Apple Podcasts, anybody listening. But like I said, we're going to take a brief break from sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ through Matthew, and just fill y'all in on what is the Cocodona 250. So before we get into it, recovery is going to be a big part of this whole training block. Recovery is huge for us. Congratulations to Mr. Billy Pitts that went and ran a trail marathon today and got third in his division as well out there. It was a super challenging race out in Burnet, Texas.
Burnet running Pandora's Box, right?
Pandora's Box of Rocks. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so congratulations, Pops, out there. Did an awesome job. Also, Sarah and Sherry, cousin and aunt, did a mud run down in Conroe. It's an awesome event that they got to go to that they've been training for. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to Joe winning his division and running a killer time on a 5K up in Waco-ish.
Bruh, he was smoking it out there.
Yeah, like 6:30 pace out of nowhere. Didn't expect all that. That's awesome.
I was like, who is this Joe dude just coming out of nowhere?
Man, he's going to be
not the Joe that we've seen at Habanero, I tell you what.
Dude, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with at next Habanero whenever we finally go back there, whenever that is.
Yeah, we're still postponing that for like 3 more years.
Yeah, we're staying away from Cat Spring.
So we got our fill of 7IL for a while.
Yeah, it's a great place to be. It's done a lot of great things, but it's just...
It's where all of our ultras seem to go.
It's like whenever you eat a certain kind of candy, and it's your favorite kind of candy, and then you eat it too many times close together, or you get like surprised with it.
Yeah.
And then you just don't want nothing to do with it for a little while.
Yeah.
It's still great.
No, we still love it. Just not what we're looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, dude, Trot's April 1st, like April Fool's joke that
Oh,
they
yeah.
played on everybody. It was like, dang, that was
Yeah,
pretty good.
Bringing in more
Moving Brazos Bend out to 7IL permanently.
bringing in dump truck loads of sand, and
Yes.
they've already started wrangling and migrating the gators over there.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that was
No, I know that was a while back, but I thought that was pretty funny.
it was a great post.
But regardless, yeah, I've been tying that back into recovery though.
Yeah, we have our recovery sponsor on the podcast, Axis Recovery. I mentioned my aunt and cousin were over in Conroe running that race. That would have been the perfect time to pop into somewhere like Axis Recovery, where you can get some state-of-the-art recovery. I know they're partnered with some awesome people. They've got an event coming up with Hyrux, and I think don't know if I'm supposed to mention this, but I think they're partnering up with Lululemon and Hyrux here pretty soon.
Oh, dang, dude.
On an event. Yeah, they just got done with the F45 partnership event today.
So they're just sponsoring another event, basically, right?
Yeah, to an extent, they're also going out there and having recovery set up there for the athletes competing in these workouts and these events.
Yeah, heck yeah.
So it's cool. And
that's pretty cool.
What kind of recovery do they have over there, brother?
Man, they got all sorts of options for you. Anything ranging from your good old classic Normatec boots. They got also the hip attachments, obviously cold plunges, saunas, stretch lab, basically, the whole gambit. I mean, you just go over there and get it all done. So
that's right. So if you find yourself in Conroe or the Houston area, it's worth the drive, guys. Drop in, tell them Next in Line Development sent you by for 10% off your visit, and go experience what is Axis Recovery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool, man. I know we got some material to dive into, and it's a little bit different.
I was gonna say, so I know that you already briefly touched over it, but let's give a true overview of what Cocodona is. What is the history of it? What does that general 250-mile layout look like? You know what I mean? Where are we starting? Where are we finishing? And just kind of your interest behind it all before we really dive into all the details.
Yeah, so 4 years ago, I think it's Jamil Curry. He's had this idea of running this great loop race, point-to-point style race across Arizona and some of these amazing trails out there. This has been a dream of his for a long time, and him and Era Viper Running, Steve Anderholt, the race director, kind of brought this thing to life 4 years ago. They've had several changes that have gone throughout it, but the course is kind of stayed the same throughout. And what that entails is a 250-mile foot race from Black Canyon City, Arizona, which is just north of Phoenix, to...
So that's southern side of Arizona.
Yes, southern side of Arizona,
yeah.
Just north of Phoenix, up to Flagstaff. And what it looks like is that you hit about 13 different aid stations in which your crew can meet you along the way. It's not self-sustained or fully self-supported. You have the opportunity for a crew to support you. You have an opportunity for pacers to join in and come run this race with you and navigate for you and keep you motivated. And really, it is the first opportunity for a race like this to be formed. It's kind of the first race of its specific kind and its length. I know there's other 200s out there, but this is point-to-point Arizona, whereas a lot of the other ones are up in other regions. Some of them are repeated loops. Some of them are point-to-point races, but this is one that I know the guys over there at Arizona, or Era Viper Running, had on their mind for a long time.
Yeah.
And really what this allows you to do is it allows you to see the entirety of Arizona.
Yeah.
You go through so many different landscapes, man. You start down in the desert, down in a valley, and you run up into Flagstaff, and you're up above the tree lines on some of it. You go over about 3 different mountain ranges. You grab 40,000 foot of elevation gain throughout the duration of the race, and 40,000 loss as well.
I say 40,000 is pretty wild.
yeah, it's
a lot for some flatlanders.
It is, man, for us that don't get down there to run a whole lot.
Yeah.
But man, it's a 125-hour cutoff. That means they say go, and then you have 125 hours. That is 5 days and 5 hours to get from Black Canyon City all the way to Flagstaff, Arizona, Heritage Square for the finish line. It's an extremely challenging race. It is a multi-day adventure, and it is something that is absolutely just mind-blowing in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of talk to us. We've talked about it a little bit before, but like, what is it that really snagged your attention the first time you saw it? Like, what is it that has you, like, just so encapsulated by the race itself ever since you first heard about it?
Yeah, so one thing I'd like to clarify a little bit, whenever I talk about the being the first race of its kind, the thing that snagged me and just brought my attention to this race is they do media like nobody else has. They do live streams
in what way? Yeah.
every single day. They have GPS tracking on the runners. You can tell exactly where people are, their pace, what they're estimated to be to the next aid station. And man, it's just the job that the media group does, the commentary on the race, the overview. They've got drones running in and out that they're switching back and forth from. They got chase cams. They're out in the trails with cameras. They're just showing a side of the race that you don't get to see. And so this was really my first exposure to a race like this.
Yeah.
Back whenever they ran the first one, I believe it was in 2019.
Okay. Yeah.
And I saw this, and at the time, I was 235 pounds. I was not in shape. I was not a runner. Hadn't been for a long time. But I fell in love with the idea of this race, dude. It was the dream of some guys, and they came out and they made it happen. And then they did amazing things to show a side of the ultra running world that you don't get to see without being out there on the trail. And it captured me. I was enamored with it from that point on. And I told myself back in 2019, if I ever get like in shape, I'm going to do this race someday.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I want to touch base on the fact too, like you said, it was kind of essentially the first race of its kind per se, right? But like that was a crazy concept even for ultra runners at that time too. Like, yes, there had been individuals that had gone out and run, some pretty wild distances. Like I know Dean Karnazes, like he's gone out and knocked out like 400 something miles, right? Mm-hmm. But not in like race form, right? And so to have like a race like this going that far, is pretty wild. And it's still like a distance, like everybody is still learning about this distance. Even those elites, like, yeah, they're finding their way through it and being successful at it, but it's still not like a common thing to go out and do this. You know what I mean?
No, it's not. And there's a lot of conversations, if you listen to podcasts, that 200s are the new 100s, in the fact that there are these...
Which is crazy.
Right, yeah. But 100s have become so popular in mainstream, you can almost find a 100-mile race like every weekend, every other weekend for sure.
Somewhere around.
Somewhere in the U.S., right?
Yeah, for sure.
So access to them has become such an easy thing nowadays as far as 100 miles go. And on a 100-mile race, if you're pacing to finish, a 100-mile race is something that is achievable for most people, right? And it's a huge, crazy distance, but after running a few marathons, 50Ks, 100Ks, 50 miles, whatever, you can rationalize getting across the line on a 100-mile race.
Yeah.
You can understand the pacing. You can understand running for a long duration of time. So the 100-mile race has become much more of a obtainable thing for runners.
Yeah.
So now you've got the 200-mile race, 200-plus mile races. I mean, you've got Tahoe 200, Bigfoot 200, you've got Moab 240, you've got Cocodona 250, and now you got the Arizona Monster 300 coming in that hasn't been ran yet, but it'll be next year. And it's wild, man, because you're absolutely right. It's become that next level where people are still scared to go and do it because
it's just the unknown, dude.
Yeah. In a 100-mile race, typically what you have is around a day and a half to complete it. Cutoff time, roughly, right? If you go to a race and you stay steady on your feet for a day and a half, you can do it. On this race specifically, you have to stay steady on your feet for 5 days to complete it on this 250-mile race. And there's a lot of intricacies and there's a lot of little things and nuances to these races that make it feasible. crew access, the ability to leave the course from aid stations, check out, go to a hotel, go to a diner, get a meal, whatever. There's a lot of access. There's sleep stations. They're well attended. The aid stations are super well maintained and stocked. So accessibility is a great thing, and it's a very doable thing whenever you wrap your mind around it. As somebody who hasn't done one yet, right?
Yeah, but it's still like the concept of also moving for potentially 5 days. Like that's just such a foreign thing. You know what I mean?
It is. And even for me, like rationalizing this, I've had some big training camps and some big training sessions and weekends that have put me on track to be able to do some of the things that I need to do out here to complete this race. But even with that, there are days like today. I went out and ran a 23 miler for my last somewhat long distance run of this training block, just keeping everything broke loose. And there were times during the 23 miler I was sitting there like, man, this is insane.
Yeah.
This is going to be crazy. This is going to be a absolute just wild experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that we're going to go off a side tangent real quick.
Okay.
But, we were talking earlier, we were talking to your dad, and we were talking about, how there's dark moments even within our short races. And I think that's something important to also point out. It's like you can be on a recovery 6-mile run, and you can hit dark spots in those.
Yeah.
You can have dark spots in your 20 milers. You can have dark spots in like a freaking 2-miler. Like, it's not like I don't want the perception to be of like we are always having good times running.
Oh, that's very true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to lose sight of that at times, especially for people that don't do it. It's just like, how in the heck are they out there running for this entire time and enjoying it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that we're not enjoying it. It's like we're out there for the challenge of it, but realize that challenge comes in all different facets within training. It is those easy recovery runs where you're running slower, and because you're running slower, it hurts worse for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
Versus going down, burning some miles. Or sometimes on those longer runs, it's just easy just get into a mindset of like, this does feel really good. Or on the backside of it, like you have highs and lows through all of it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, highest of highs, lowest of lows, for sure.
And both of them are fleeting too.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Sorry, man. I just want to touch base on that.
No, it's a great point because they talk about it in the 100-mile races specifically, but I know it's even more so in a 250 from what I've been able to listen to people that have experienced these things and gone through this. You get to experience a lifetime worth of emotions and really see where you're at, who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the duration of this race. This is going to take you, no matter what you do, no matter how good you are, it's going to take you to places that most people only go during some of the most traumatic times in their lives, right? But it's a little bit different because you're choosing to go to those points in a way as well. So there's a lot you can get into on that side as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's dive into it, man. In your perspective, does this going through these events prepare you for the times that we can't control, like in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. I think.
And have you seen that play out? I mean, just through your training and with your 100-milers and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think up to this point, I guess a little bit of an overview for me. I have done 100 miles up to this point. I have never crossed that threshold. This will be my first 200-plus mile race. It is a very challenging 250-mile race. It is going to get very interesting. I don't know fully what's on the other side of this thing. But what I do know is that the past experiences, these ultra runnings, even these training blocks and the commitment and the little investments time after time again, day after day, to get better and to be prepared for something like this, they've absolutely played a role in regular life and seeing, okay, I'm going through this little tough season, or I've got this event, or I've got this situation where work is calling me to get there way early and stay way late, or we had this situation come up and we got to drive 16 hours across the state to go do this and that, whatever,
Yeah.
So it's definitely played a role. And I think my dad talked about it a little bit as well whenever my grandfather went through a heart surgery. I think it was at the end of last year.
So that is pretty recent.
Or the very beginning of this year.
Yeah.
And he talked about just kind of the marathon he was running with that, with being up at the hospital, being up there, trying to balance work and like stay there and invested in that with everything else going on.
Staying present.
And making sure that he was being the best version of himself the whole time and really not focusing on how tired he was, how stressed out he was, the emotional impact of the whole situation on him, because absolutely your dad's going through heart surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a pretty stressful thing. But he was even able to call upon like his 100-mile race that he had done and some of the other events and just lay out like, okay, I've been through things that were extremely challenging. I've pushed myself, my mind, my body to places I never thought I'd be able to actually go.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing those things into reality just kind of puts that all on the table for you. Like, okay, yeah, I can handle these things.
Yeah.
So just made life a little easier in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. I don't know. I've always enjoyed, because I haven't run 100 miles yet, right? But I've always enjoyed hearing the different perspectives you get from going through those experiences. And so often it's alluded that, you can essentially experience life, all the highs, all the lows, and everything in between during a 100-miler, and just how much better it prepares you for whatever you have coming down the road in the future because you chose to go through and subject yourself to that. And I also feel like it really makes you realize, the only limitations we have is what we place on ourselves.
I agree with that.
So whenever you go out and you actually commit to a process like that, and you commit to yourself of going through and completing it to your best ability, or just seeing it through, right? I mean, there's just so many different life lessons that you can learn through a race like that, and just it all applies back to every situation in life, essentially.
It really does. And it's a weird place that we live in. I actually thought about this the other day, not to dive off into a tangent or a step on my soapbox, but we live in a world that most people that are born into a decent situation, a decent living situation with decent opportunities, a lot of them, to reach some of the higher levels and to really understand themselves in a way that is deeper than the typical person, has to engage in some sort of manufactured hardship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in a way, this is a lot of what that is because we're not having to go hunt down our food. It's not the Great Depression yet. They're out there too. Yeah. But it's not the time of the Great Depression when we're all battling for just trying to stay alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain level of comfort and there's a certain level of availability of food, of water, of shelter, of all the basic needs that we have, right? Clothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right here in front of us.
It is. It's at our fingertips nowadays. And so whether that manufactured hardship for you is going to the gym at 5 a.m. every day for an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever that looks like, you're doing something to make yourself and your body and your mind all physically or mentally or
physically
emotionally
and mentally. Yeah.
Stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So we're doing that and we're having these manufactured hardships. But then whenever you start considering these races, you start considering marathons, you start considering 50Ks, 50 milers, 100Ks, 100 milers, 200 plus mile races. Mm-hmm. You start going into different levels of manufactured hardship and you start really scraping the bottom of the barrel to really, really figure out what's down there, mm-hmm. and it allows you to go to places and understand yourself in ways that you haven't before. And it allows you to be able to stand in confidence with yourself whenever you've made an agreement with yourself and you've honored it. You've upheld your end as well. Mm-hmm. It reaches a level of self-confidence that many people don't get to have, especially in today's society where you take away one thing and you make their life harder and society kind of freaks out. We saw that with COVID. We saw that with shutdowns and things like that. You started
mm-hmm.
talking about food scarcity. let's talk about this one. You started talking about toilet paper scarcity, and everybody lost their mind, And
I know of some toilet paper hoarders out there.
yeah, dude, we were a little bit toilet paper hoarders, but just saying, like people lose their mind. But this manufactured hardship allows us to have a base to stand on, kind of like you alluded to, whenever life throws us a curveball.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the mindset.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I guess a couple questions that I have for you, while we're in that topic of mindset. Is there anything specific that you are looking to get out of this?
Yeah, man, it's a really good question. Personally, it's digging deeper. It's proving to myself that I have what it takes to do something like this, and using that as a rationale to extend some courage and bravery into other aspects of my life. And it goes back to what you talked about with having examples of doing challenging things to be able to prove to myself I can achieve challenging things in life. But really, man, I get wrapped up in being fearful of the uncertain, and going out there and doing something like this that is completely uncertain. This is over twice the distance I've ever ran in a race before. This is, to some people, unfathomable for a human to go out there and run this in 5 days and 5 hours. And to push that limit and to understand that I'm able to achieve this thing if I put my mind to it just shows like there's so much more out there that I've wanted to do, that I've wanted to invest in, wanted to try to do career-wise, personally, in my faith, with my family, that this just gives me a stepping stone to head in that direction. And then in some other ways, some of my personal struggles that I've gone through here recently, and there's some parts of me that I'm trying to leave behind in some ways.
Yeah.
You can never fully bury those things. They're always inside of you. They're always something that you battle against. But in some ways, my goal is to go out there and in a way prove to myself that I have control over my destiny in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, all the glory to God. I am but a part of the plan that has been laid out that is bigger than me. However, there's a role I've got to play in it, and to understand that and to reach that full potential, I think there's certain parts of me that I've got to have the willpower and I've got to have the ability to bury and leave behind.
Yeah.
In some regard. And I want this to be ammo in that magazine for going that direction.
Yeah. I think this is one of the purest ways of going through and glorifying God in a way. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're going through subjecting yourself to all this, and you're choosing to do so, obviously. But, just going through and just having this opportunity and taking advantage of it, testing yourself. And there's going to be so many times throughout this adventure and this opportunity that you're going to have to lean on Him.
1,000%.
And it's just such a glaring opportunity to go through and glorify Him through this. You know what I mean? And that can, in my opinion, it's one of the leading reasons for me of going out there and doing this with you. It's just that opportunity to go actually glorify Him through this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's an opportunity to take the tools that He's given us, to take the gifts that He's put in front of us or in our lives, and the body that we have, man. Like, some of the things humans have accomplished, right? Humans have accomplished these things with the body that they were given from God, the tools that they were given from God. And you're right, the glory goes to Him. I had several conversations with individuals where it's like, man, like, you're doing 250 miles. That's insane, dude. That's awesome. It's like, first off, I haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
And secondly, whenever I do achieve that, like, it's way bigger than me. It's not me doing it. I've been put in a situation. I've been getting a certain mindset and tools, and I've been given a body and a vessel that is capable of doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And in that matter, I think so many people leave that
On the table.
On the table. Yeah, it's almost just letting it go, just completely untapped, just completely spoiled in some ways. And to me, I would feel disrespectful in some ways to not explore what my body is physically capable of, that I've been gifted. I don't think that these things are healthy in all regards by any means. No. I don't think putting your body through this is something that's a healthy practice for being physically fit.
Yeah.
But I think understanding what you're capable of doing is, and what this vessel we've been given is capable of doing, is an amazing thing.
One thing is, dude, is like, again, we've talked about it so many times, but look where we used to be. And for everybody out there listening, like, realize, like, you can go do this too.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll 100% agree with that.
Everybody can go do this. Everybody has that opportunity. And not to be, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that was.
You gotta love a good Amber Alert.
But not to be too blunt, but I mean, I feel like in a way it's disrespectful if you don't take advantage of that opportunity. And I say that coming from an individual who many years of my life, I didn't go through and do that.
That's a great point.
And, I just, whether you're out there, you're 60, I mean, you're in your 60s, or if you're young, overweight, whatever it is, midlife, and you just don't know what to do with your life, like, I challenge you to go, like, and take advantage of the opportunity you have in front of you. No, I'm not saying go out and run a 250-mile race, but go actively pursue a physical challenge. Take that opportunity on that table and go freaking utilize it. Quit being lazy or quit being scared to go do something that challenges you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I just don't want to not vocalize that, because that's something that's important to me, just because, again, I've seen it from the other side. I know what it's like from the other side. And it's just that ties back into just having faith. You got to have some discipline, obviously. And it's all opportunities that you can use to lean into Him and glorify Him.
Yeah. No, dude, I couldn't agree more. We talk about these things and we're critical of the lack of use and lack of appreciation of your body because we've been on the other side. Mm-hmm. I've been a fat, lazy slob who didn't worry about a thing I put in my body. Mm-hmm. I was sedentary. I was a glutton. All I cared about was what people perceived of me on the outside and what society told me I was doing good by getting promotions at work or having friends that approved of me or mm-hmm. being the good time whenever I was out drinking. And I've lived that life. Yeah. Right. But now over the past 3.5 years, we've explored some crazy, amazing things and realized that life is so much bigger than just that. Yeah. So it's wild to me. And whenever we say these things, we don't say it as trying to be harsh. We don't say it as coming after you. But, man, if the shoe fits and you start to feel some emotion from this, maybe that's something telling you that, hey,
this is my opportunity.
This is your opportunity. Because, dude, like, I'm saddling up for a 250-mile race that I am going to give everything I've got to finish. I am taking a crew of people out there that believe in me, that want to be around me, that want to get better. And they're going to be full of pacers. It's going to be full of crew members that are going to take care of things. I've got you, Mr. Lane Diven, as my crew chief. Mm-hmm. And I am surrounded by people that believe in what we're trying to do and what we've set forth. Mm-hmm. What we're actively working to achieve all the time with our bodies and our mentalities and our emotions and our spirituality. And, man, just the value in seeing the shift and understanding that it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to admit, because, dude, I was overweight and I was scared what people thought of me. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go to the gym. I didn't want to start working out. I didn't want to change my diet because the minute you admit that there's a problem, it opens up yourself for ridicule.
Yep. Yeah, makes you vulnerable.
It's like, yeah, I'm fat. I know it, and I'm trying to make a change, right?
Yep.
This is the highest form of vulnerability here to people, right?
Yeah.
I'm admitting to you that I'm fat, and I know it. That way I'm having to start a diet, or I'm having to start working out because I haven't taken care of myself. But you have to go there if you're ever going to change.
I say, but I mean, like, that's the thing is, like, it's always looked at, like, having that mindset is always perceived as, like, negative. But realize, like, that's where your growth actually comes from. Being in those uncomfortable spots, putting yourself out there vulnerably, and just having that confidence to just, like, hey, it is what it is, and I have the opportunity to change this.
Yeah.
And so why don't we go through and actually put some commitment and discipline and confidence and belief in myself. Let me go freaking change this.
Absolutely.
So, man, you kind of alluded to it earlier. I was also going to ask, like, why this? Like, why a 250-mile race? You know, why Cocodona? You know what I mean? And I believe you already alluded to it for the most part. But, I mean, if you'd like to speak to that any more, I mean, why this?
Yeah, man. It's just, it's, in some ways, it's a rite of passage. It's another level.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the Super Bowl for me of ultra running.
Yeah.
There's races out there that are way bigger. There's Western States. There's Badwater 135. There's UTMB. There's all these crazy, phenomenal races out there. I could list all of them. It'd take me all day, right? But this one is the one that I set my sights on, and I promised myself a long time ago that I would do one day if I got to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, I've worked and worked and worked for the past few years to take care of myself, to get better, to be at a point where I could physically do challenging things. And am I fully ready? Dude, I don't think so. I don't know. Who knows, right?
I mean, can you ever actually be ready?
Exactly. but
it's all perspective, dude.
It is all perspective. I love you always say that. I love it. It's all perspective because, man, at the end of the day, who cares?
Yeah.
I have this big, beautiful goal, this thing that has motivated me, this thing that has moved me. I've got all these wonderful, amazing people that are willing to go with me to be part of this tribe, to be part of this group, and to go out there and strive to achieve something together.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is. I've got 4 phenomenal pacers that are taking a week off of work. Every single one of us burning pretty much a week of PTO.
Mm-hmm.
They are choosing to run anywhere from 40, 43, or 46 miles. They're going to climb mountain ranges with me in Arizona. They are going to fill my pack, my crew members as well. They're going to fill my pack. They're going to make sure I have the right clothes on. They're going to put sunscreen on my crisped up, burnt body whenever I have to put sunscreen on.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to check my feet and make sure that my feet aren't blistering up or I'm not taking care of them the way I'm supposed to. They're going to make sure that I have food and nutrition on me. They're going to make sure I'm sleeping appropriately. They're going to make sure I have all my crap where it needs to be. And it's like my wife is part of that crew, and she's going to make sure that our 9-month now, 9-month-old daughter is taken care of and gets to be a part of this adventure as well. And she gets to be there and show me support because she knows how much it means to me.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I am so freaking lucky, and I have so many amazing opportunities here in front of me that, man, if I didn't make the most of it in some regard, I would be a piece of trash.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. Everybody wants to be part of this. Everybody wants to see it. We're super close, and everybody's stoked, man. I keep getting messages. I keep hearing from people, keep having phone calls. Everybody's just so stoked about it and excited to be a part of it. And in the same breath, they're all signing up and training for their own things. You've got things going on you're training for.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's training for a 200-mile race in September. We've got Chris Barnes training for Leadville. Jim's training for a 100-mile race.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when exactly he's going to do it, but Michael's been a big part of this, and if he wasn't having a baby right like a week or two after this, he would be here
Right
with us
there
as
in it.
well.
Yeah.
And he's training for 100-mile races. Like it's It's all of these amazing people that have goals, and we understand that we mutually support people, and it's a network of just phenomenal human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that just makes this so much more worth it. Even if I have to drag myself and crawl across the finish line to finish this.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, man. I mean, it's always been so awesome, just getting to be a part of the crew, obviously, but just seeing the community within ultra running itself. It's not one that you're gonna find many other places. I could probably think of maybe one or two other lifestyles where you could probably find something similar, but there's not many out there.
Yeah.
And just the culture around it, whether it is the crew, whether it's strangers out there on the trail, whether it's other people's crew members, like whatever it is, like everybody is there for the support of everybody else. And it's something, bless you.
Thank you.
And it's something that I've just always so deeply appreciated. And I think it just alludes to the fact that, like, we can do many awesome things by ourselves. I mean, there's individuals that do go out there and run 100 milers by themselves. No crew.
There's people that'll run this without a crew.
Yeah. But what I want to get at is that, if you're trying to get somewhere fast, yeah, sure, you can go there by yourself. But if you want to go somewhere far, then you got to have a team with you.
It's a great quote.
And, just having that crew behind you, having family behind you to just help achieve those goals, like, just bring so much more out of the experience. And it's not just on the runner's side, it's also on the crew side. It's also on whatever perspective you want to look at it. Like, there's just so many vital things that we can pull from this. Whether you're out there doing it or not, it's just like the impact it has, I think, on everybody's lives is just so much more than what that face value probably actually looks like.
Yeah.
Because it's, face value, surface level. Oh, yeah, we're going out. We're helping, somebody go run a race. Like, what does that mean? Like, what does that even mean? Like, what do you mean you're helping somebody go run a race? You know what I mean? And if you're not in that culture, like, that's kind of what it looks like. Like, why are you taking time off to go do this? Why are you burning a weekend to go do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But unless you're in it and see it, it's like, oh, that's why. That's why we freaking do this. And, it just also alludes to so many other things as well. It's like, if I can subject myself to this hardship, or if I can go actually achieve this goal, and you consistently do that, then you realize all the little nuances that you get caught up in day to day don't freaking matter.
They don't.
All the perceived challenges that you have at work, or hard conversations you got to have, they either prepare you for that conversation, or you realize it's like, that's not tough. You know what I mean? And just consistently going through and doing this, it's like, it's just had such a huge impact that in all aspects, I think, of everybody's lives that has actually been involved in this. And so it's kind of the Super Bowl for you, but it's also the Super Bowl for us. And, I know that this is just going to be one amazing, phenomenal experience. And I'm just stoked to see, the adventure that God has laid out for us.
Dude, amen. Yeah, and it's awesome to know what this means to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because, man, like you said, I couldn't imagine doing this alone.
That'd be terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. Man.
So
we can do some more overview on this thing and kind of lay out some timelines and plans.
I was going to say, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. So kind of overview, I feel like one of the most common questions you get running ultras, dang, are you running this whole thing?
Yeah. So the answer,
Are you sprinting this 250 miles, Chance?
absolutely. Probably 6:30.
Mile?
Yeah, probably run what Joe ran today.
Oh. I know you had it in you.
No, absolutely not.
You got them wings that on the back of your feet.
I don't think so.
No, okay.
Absolutely not.
You haven't been hitting pull-ups enough.
Nope.
I got some wings I can give you.
There we go. Yeah. Nah, dude. To answer your question, the expected pace that I want to try to keep for this thing, moving pace, is going to be a 17:10 pace or so.
So what does that look like? Like, what does that actually mean?
What that actually looks like, what a 17:10 pace would look like is a decently brisk walk.
Yeah.
For most people, that does not mean I'm going to walk the whole thing.
No.
The way this plays out is I'm calculating off of a run-walk method, running 5 minutes, walking 2 minutes for as long as I can hold that pace. It'll change depending on section. Like the first section of this race is 37 miles, 10 or 11,000 feet of elevation gain. You've got to carry extra water with you, extra supplies, because you don't see your crew. You don't have aid stations. It's limited resources out there, and it's super, super hot and exposed.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a slower section. It's going to have a lot of hiking in it. It's going to have a lot of just being super conservative coming in. I'll probably be longer than my pace that I've set for myself during those durations. But then it opens up into flatter sections. It opens up into opportunities whenever I got my crew. It opens up into times whenever there's night. And it turns out that Cocodona is actually a pretty runnable course whenever you're not climbing in particular sections or descending in particular sections.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it, because it has a perception of being a hiking ultra.
Like a mountainous kind of style, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like all just elevation the entire time, which granted 40,000 feet of elevation roughly. But like it has that perception of like, dude, you're just going to be hiking this entire thing. And that's not the case.
Yeah.
Like this is a runner's course.
Yeah, for sure.
And, Mike McKnight's run last year really alludes to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's pretty dang awesome.
Yeah, if you don't know the story of Mike McKnight's comeback in 2023,
phenomenal, dude.
Stupidly phenomenal.
Yeah.
He was like in 60th or 70th place and came back and won the race.
I don't know if like that is the greatest comeback in a race or in sports in general. Like, but I gotta feel like that's got to be up there like top 2.
Oh, dude, watching the live stream and watching the tracking, it was just beautiful.
And I feel like, if the ultra world had like the weight of it behind like what, I don't know, football, soccer, or something like that had, like that would probably be literally considered one of the greatest comebacks of all time.
Oh yeah, it would have been living on ESPN for like months.
For forever.
Yeah.
So,
dude.
Anyways, sorry.
No, absolutely. So it's going to be a run walk. It's going to be a majority run. Hopefully, if everything stays together, stay injury free, keep everything, muscles and all that good stuff in good shape. Like I said, I'm gonna in that first section where it's pretty unsupported. I'll be carrying 11 pounds of water, just water, and then I'll have food. I'll have required gear and a bunch of other stuff in my pack as well. My pack will probably be somewhere in the 15-pound range if I had to guess.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be carrying 15 pounds through 37 miles and 10,000 feet of elevation. It's going to be a challenge. And then once I can shed some weight in water and reevaluate things and repack a little bit, move into some of those other aid stations, we'll be in a good spot.
Yeah.
The hope is to be run time on this race in the 72 to 75 hour range, which is fast. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I know that is fast for this distance. But other factors include aid station stops and sleep times, which I've got plans for sleep and everything that would optimistically total me out at about 85 hours or so for completion time, which would put me somewhere in the top end of the race, but definitely not in contention to win this thing.
Yeah.
So, because we're probably going to see some people break into the 60s this year.
Yeah, which is pretty wild. But
yeah,
you talked about a little bit. Tell us what our sleep plan is at this moment in time, at least.
Yeah, so
because that's another common question. Like, do you sleep during these things?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. I didn't mean to cut you off. Thanks for asking that, because right now my plan is to get anywhere from 3 to 9 hours of sleep over the duration of this race. And what that looks like is every 24 hours, or roughly 24 hours, depending on where the aid station drop is, we'll make an evaluation. I've got someone that's in charge of my sleep schedule, and we'll dictate and figure out what we're going to do. And I will attempt to sleep for up to 3 hours. If it's not working, we'll stay there for roughly an hour. If it's working well, we'll stay for 3. If I wake up somewhere in between there for 2 and feel all right, let's go.
Yeah.
So my goal is to sneak in sleep almost every 24 hours if I can do it, and to just stay ahead of that. So,
and then diving into the nutrition side, we're going through, on average, we strive to hit roughly how many calories per hour?
It's like 350 to 400.
To 400, right?
Yeah, and that's going to be insanely challenging to do in a race like this, but it's going to be very important to keep your nutrition up.
Yeah. So going into that a little bit, what are some key things that you found really helps you in all the training that you've done and all the races that you've had that you're looking to implement out here?
Yeah, so I've found I can push myself decently far without taking calories in, which is not a good thing to do, because in these long efforts it leads to bonk. So I can feel comfortable in places for extended amount of times, but if I'm not careful with it, I will extend myself way too far.
Yeah.
Because of that, I will have liquid calories on me. I'll have quite a bit. I'll probably be taking somewhere in the neighborhood of like that first section, 800 calories worth of liquid calories, and then a slew of different calories that come from different sources, such as real food. There will be peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There will be potatoes. There will be gels. I will have spring gels on me. I'll have the awesome sauces that are about 180 calories a pop.
Can't beat them.
Can't beat them, dude.
Carried me through my ultra.
Oh, dude, they're the best. Then I'll have trail mix has been something I've been mixing in pretty consistently, because one thing we've heard from runners before is that you want to keep a steady pace of eating, because you never want your stomach to feel like it can completely shut down and not be trying to digest food. Yeah. So if you take some trail mix and you throw some in every interval on the run walk, you just keep your system working, you keep yourself fed. And things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that's pretty surprising too is like the caloric count you get from like nuts and like almonds, stuff like that, is actually pretty ridiculous. Yeah,
it is. I mean, a small bag of trail mix is 270 calories.
Yeah. My 1 ounce of almonds is, I don't want to lie to you, but I know it's pretty high.
Yeah, no, it is.
Whenever I first started going through measuring all that out, I was like, what? This less than a handful of almonds is like 200 calories?
Yeah, and it actually, so the trail mix too, it has almonds in it, of course. And because of that, it gives it a good balance. It's got a lot of carbs.
That is the other thing. The carb count. I was like, what? Yeah,
it's got a lot of carbs to it. And you're going to have to, carbs is your main source in a race like this for me. And fats are important as well. So I want to say it's about half as much fats as it is calories or carbs. So it's a little bit higher on fats than I want it to be, but it does have some protein as well, which will be very important to rebuild and help repair muscles and increase longevity, I should say, of muscles out there on the course. So that trail mix will be a good thing to mix in.
Absolutely. So that's a little bit on the nutrition side. What about the hydration side? What is it that works for you? Because that's like, there's so many different ways to skin a cat, right?
The
same thing, obviously applies to this. For me, it's like I like using BP and electrolytes at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Tailwind is super big. Element is a huge one. Scratch is a huge one. There's also guys that go straight water and just electrolyte pills,
Yeah. For me, man, what electrolytes look like in that. Well, circle back to nutrition. At every major aid station, I will have a real meal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real food.
Sorry, I didn't mean to skip over that.
No. I just thought about that too.
We're
because
talking like a 32-ounce steak?
No, not a 32-ounce steak.
That's what I'm planning on having.
I would love to be able to do something like that. But no,
we got the big Texan rolling around with us.
That's right. Yeah, no kidding. Get a free steak out there in Arizona. Pasta is at some aid stations. You've got eggs. You got pancakes. There's bacon. You've got noodles. You've got quesadillas, pizza at some of them. There's all these things that are really calorically dense and high carb to be able to keep you going. And you've got to eat real meals out there while you're running these things.
Yeah, especially for this. Like, You can get away with poor nutrition on a 50K.
Yeah.
You can make some mistakes on a 100K.
Yeah.
100-miler, you got to have it fairly dialed in for the most part.
Yeah, if you want to be competitive, yeah.
Absolutely. But a 250-miler, like you gotta be squared away. You gotta actually be getting some actual calories in, some actual carbs in, proteins, everything else. So
Yeah. It comes down to running a good race and having your nutrition, hydration, and all those things, sleep even dialed in. Until you get to the last 100 miles or last 100K, and keeping yourself healthy enough to actually start racing at that point.
Yeah, and that's something I definitely want to talk about here in a few minutes is like where the race actually begins.
Yeah, but to circle back to hydration, because you asked me that first,
Yeah.
not to lose that one. Hydration plan, I have Tailwind. I go with Tailwind. It's a liquid calorie. It's got some electrolytes in it.
Does your stomach do pretty well with Tailwind?
My stomach does pretty well with Tailwind, knock on wood. Haven't had many issues out of it. I will be taking in more water than I am Tailwind, and I'll be supplementing with electrolyte tabs. So I'll be dialing it in where I need to. I have done a good job of staying on top of it in the past, so I'm hoping to do the same out there, especially in the desert like we'll be in, because it's going to be hot at some points and exposed.
Yeah. And I feel like probably even in those cold areas, like that's something just so easy to forget because it's like you're not thirsty in those times. And something I experienced in my training, back this recent winter, is like I'd be going through, you're sweating still while it is 40 degrees outside. But like it's like I'm not actively thirsty, but I should still be intaking that water. And we're going to be hitting some areas up there on those higher elevation where it's like you still got to be intaking water there too, like hydration.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, that's going to be key. And something that my crew chief, I'm glad you're tuned in with because, man, I think my dad's in charge of nutrition and hydration for me.
Yeah.
And
I think he just had a recent lesson on that too.
He sure did. Same lesson somebody else had. Don't skip 8 stations and make sure you take care of yourself.
Be proactive, not reactive, folks.
Amen. But yeah, no, that's a great thing to bring up is being aware of it throughout the whole duration of this race because it is a long race where you need hydration the entire time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I know that you've immersed yourself in this for quite some time now. I know that you've watched probably every Cocodona video on YouTube. If I had to venture out on a limb,
yeah, probably twice or 3 times.
I know that you've listened to countless podcasts.
So many podcasts
on this race.
Yeah.
Do you have some big takeaways or tips that you've gotten from these that you're looking to try to implement throughout your own race?
Yeah. A few of those big tips were to the amount of water and what it really looks like to carry appropriate water for the first part of this course and how treacherous it is, but at the same time how it's not the end of the world to go run this. I've learned that it's more of a flat race and runnable race than people think it is at times. I've learned some tips such as making sure that I'm taking in massive amounts of calories or bulking up on calories a little bit before I sleep. That way my system can process it while I'm sleeping, and I can play some catch up.
Yeah.
Same thing with hydration in that regard. And then overall, the sleep schedule was one that's important. Is a lot of the big leaguers and the professionals out here, if you will, are learning the importance of sleep at early stages of these races and getting short windows of sleep here and there to keep themselves competitive down the road.
Keep them gears rolling.
Yeah, exactly.
And what I find intriguing, which it's when you take a step back and actually think about it, it makes sense. But it's like nobody has a perfect outline as to what that should look like. And so you get to go through. Everybody's got to try to figure it out yourself. And so if you find something that works great for you, then freaking great. And if not, you get to learn from it too. So
yeah, 100%.
But it's not like a dialed-in science that everybody has figured out.
No, and that's something that's so intriguing about these races to me is that, like, in a lot of ways, there's some people that are really good at them. Like, obviously, Mike McKnight is the king of the 200s. He's a beast. And there's some other people that have done these and proved that they are phenomenal on these races. But, like Killian Korth, you saw him last year. It was new to it.
Leading the entire race.
Killed it.
Yeah.
Did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And right at the end, he ran into some issues because I would say there was probably this was his first race like this, so there's probably some things he didn't take into account or didn't realize or ran into some issues down the road that if he would have prepared himself for or paced himself a little bit better for or something like that, he probably would have slayed this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just part of getting it dialed in and figured out. Nobody knows. Mm-hmm. And I expect him to come out and do some crazy stuff this year. Mm-hmm. Like I would be very, very surprised if he wasn't in the front running and competitive for this race.
Yeah, especially after just reflecting on that race last year. Like, I remember texting you about that. I was like, dude, Killian is literally leading this entire thing.
By a long shot.
By a lot.
He was killing it, dude.
Yeah.
I think he still came in like third or...
Yeah, I don't recall where he ended up falling
fourth.
back into. But, I mean, regardless, like, him just going out there and doing that is just like, whew, that was wild.
It was wild.
So, yeah, man, let's dive into, you know, I alluded to a second ago. Yes, it is a 250-mile race. Does that race begin then?
I think your mental game and the chess, not checkers mentality starts from the get-go, obviously. You've got to be dialed in. You got to take care of yourself. You got to make sure that you're on track. You got to make sure that you're not making mistakes because, yeah, there's a lot of time to recover, but if you're doing this competitively and wanting to run this race, just from everything I've learned by doing research and studying these 200 plus mile races, is that the race really doesn't start until the last 100K.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the last 100 miles if there's a lot of people up there and you start trying to distance yourself out a little bit or make some changes here and there. But really it's that last 100K from what people are saying. And you've got to make sure you're at a point to where you can start racing at that point. You got to have your nutrition dialed in. You got to have your muscles taken care of and ready and not burnt through or worn out or overexerted. You got to make sure that you've hydration, nutrition, sleep, all of those things have played the proper factor into your race that they need to play because they're going to be so vitally important. And even the pacers and crew and the people that you have with you can play such a huge role in that and making sure, as somebody that likes to come out way too hot, way too competitive, push myself way too much at the beginning and then clean up the mess at the end of these races, having the right people around you to keep you from doing something stupid like that in this race.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the overview I have on that. But it's hard for me to say because I'm super inexperienced with this. I've never done this distance before, but I've ran some shorter races where I definitely saw that become a factor. And even I think there was a 50-miler that I had last year, Brazos Spin, that I got second or third in. Third, I think.
Came in third, yeah, from what I remember.
That race involved me just staying slow and steady and controlled and calculated and having everything dialed in. And I passed it was a 3-loop race, and I passed probably 6 or 7 people on the last loop to move into the position I was in.
Yeah.
Just by being slow, calculated, and patient, which is going to be one of the hardest things for me.
Yeah. I think it's just one of the hardest things in general. It's like you're just going through. It's hard to stay present whenever you're just anticipating that next thing. And so, you know, I think being present is just going to be a key component for you as well. Just rocking through this is going to be pretty wild. So,
agreed.
So what does this taper look like for you? You know, you've been on the backside. Well, I guess now we're going into week 2 of this taper, technically.
Yeah. Tomorrow will be week 2 of the taper. It's been a lot more of a taper than I wanted it to be. To be honest, I've been fighting some congestion, fighting some kind of like crud. I've been working through that I haven't really wanted to push myself through. Got out today and did a 23-mile run just to keep things broke loose as far as longer distance goes.
Yeah.
Had a 10-mile earlier in the week, 5-mile earlier in the week. And it really wasn't what I wanted it to be. I wanted to put a little bit more mileage up, a little bit more time on my feet, comfort-wise. I wanted my long run to be somewhere in the neighborhood of this 23 to 27 miles or so. So that's okay. But I wanted to focus on recovery, making sure everything was good. I do have a couple little things flaring up here and there that I want to watch for and be present with and evaluate as they come up in the race. Just ankles and Achilles stuff that I need to watch out for that have been issues in the past. Also, hip flexor on my right side's a little bit A little bit tender and a little bit talking, but I think if I stay very controlled and calculated and don't push the envelope, I'll be in an okay spot, especially with the changes in terrain here versus just being solid flat ground the entire time.
Yeah.
So as far as the taper goes, it's been a little bit more involved and focused on making sure I take care of myself than I and having to focus on taking care of myself than I wanted it to be. But at the same time, it's been refreshing to not have this massive week of running that I had to beat down and feel like, man, if I don't hit this, I'm not going to be ready. If I don't hit this, I'm not going to be ready kind of mindset. You know, it's been nice to slip into a little bit of recovery, a little bit of prep work to get myself back going, still working on mobility, still working on flexibility, stretching out, staying loose. But getting to spend some time with the family too, man. Going hiking with my wife and my daughter. Getting to be home and not running for like 9 hours in a day or like 18, 24 hours in a weekend kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Cool.
Yeah. Loving that side. And for next week, got a few shakeout runs. Probably 3 runs, probably a 5.53 or a 5.35 or a 5.55. And one of those will be in Arizona. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I always like getting perspectives during the taper week. I've always appreciated individuals' insights whenever you hear them talking about their taper week or going into a big race like this. And so that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, shout out to Joe Corcione putting out some taper information, helping me feel a little bit more confident in my 2-week taper and my game plan to keep the training going as long as I kept it going. And things like that. So he's going to be out there running that race. I hope to catch up to him and say hi at least and tell him thank you.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool. I'm excited to see all the different people we're going to have out there.
Oh, dude.
I mean, we're going to have, loads of elites out there. And then, who knows, man? There may be some up-and-comers that are going to make a huge impact out there too.
Oh, there's going to be some studs, dude. And
I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. No, get out of here, dude. I'm probably more excited about getting to go out there and talk to some of these guys about like real life stuff.
Yeah,
like I know Mike McKnight's a really heavy in his faith and not ashamed of it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's a beautiful thing, and I've talked to him via Instagram a time or two on little things here.
That's cool.
So just dropping something to him would be cool and being able to say hi and what that means to me. And Joe Corcione, his podcast, Everyday Ultra, is awesome if you're looking to get into ultras. It gives you everything that you need. He's a certified coach. He could coach you as well. But he puts off all this free info that's amazing for people wanting to get into the sport. And, of course, like legends like Jeff Browning and all those guys are out there too. But that's a whole nother deal. It's crazy because this is the most competitive field by far that has ever been at Cocodona. Every previous winner is there on the men's side of the field. There's some female runners that aren't running this year. That's kind of crazy to me, especially after what they've done. But it's going to be cool to get out there. I mean, Andy Glaze is going to be out there running again. He's just super prolific runner. He's on a streak of an insane amount of weeks over 100 miles. And there's a bunch of other guys that are just. It's going to be cool, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of want to ask you just kind of like a surface level question. Going into this, what is your favorite piece of gear?
Ooh, that's a beautiful question. Favorite piece of gear?
Because we're gonna revisit this after the fact, and we're gonna see how that kind of plays out on the backside.
Man, favorite piece of gear? Really. For any ultra, it's got to be shoes, man. Like the right shoes, and I'll throw shoe and sock combination. The right shoe and sock combination together is a beautiful thing. Yeah. And I've been very fortunate and very lucky with my shoe and sock combination.
Don't forget your insoles.
And my insoles, yes, that's part of that. To be pretty healthy and pretty fortunate in the departments of chafing and blisters. Knock on wood. But I think that has been something that has played a huge role in keeping me healthy.
And your success with it so far, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever your version of success is with it, right?
I mean, just you know what I mean.
I do. But shoes, probably.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what are your favorite? Like, what do you wear?
Man, I rock some Hoka Speed Goats. I know everybody catches a lot of crap for them.
The classics, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, man, I love my Goat 4s.
Yeah, I loved my Goat 4s more than I love my Goat 5s, but I got a couple pair of Goat 5s that'll be taken out there, primarily running in. I did bring some Clifton 9s because those are my go-to running shoes. I'll have some Tevas out there in case everything goes to crap, and I just got to get this thing done with some Tevas on my feet, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You got all the options, man.
I sure do.
Well, cool. I don't know. Like, I for me, being such a big gearhead, it's like, like there's so many different pros and cons for all of them. You know
what
I mean?
are you looking forward to bringing out there with you for some pacing? You got 43 miles of pacing on docket.
I'll tell you, the last, or the piece of gear that made the most impact for me at my last race, and I'm looking forward because I know I'm gonna be using them out there. It's gonna be them Luckies, baby.
Yeah, them old trekking poles. They're nice,
dude. Those Luckies were so nice, and they are literally weightless.
They are, yeah.
Like weightless.
Extremely good system, well put together. It feels sturdy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And going from my all natural wood trekking poles I had out there in old Georgia.
Yeah, for those of y'all that don't know, he picked up 2 sticks. That's what he means by that.
And going from that to these Luckies, man, they've been freaking phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm still going through. You know me, I like testing different shoes. And so, though I always fall back to Hoka, maybe that's just what I should stick with. But I'm always, I don't know, I like testing different things, you know. And same thing with my vest and some other pieces of gear. But for me, I loved my Luckies this past time. So
yeah, I do want to let you wear that Solomon vest a little bit while we're out there so you can test it out.
Yeah, I don't know. We're probably gonna order me one.
Well, never mind. There we go.
Not committed to it yet, but it's like, well, if I don't use it out here, obviously I get to use it in training and stuff like that, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and you got some other races coming up, I think, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, we're a little into it. I do have one more question, and you can go as deep with it as you want to, or you stay at surface level as you want to as well.
Sure.
Going into this race, is there anything that you want to tell to yourself or tell to everybody listening?
I don't think there's really a way to stay surface level with that one, man.
There's not. But
No.
I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, dude. I'll do a little of both. I'll start with everybody else. Man, and they tie together pretty well, so I'll tie them together for sure. But being somebody that's come from a place of being not this, undisciplined, like not excited about the aspect of taking care of myself or working out or seeing what I was capable of or trying to do challenging things or even having relationships with people willing to come out here and be part of doing challenging things. I mean, stepping up to the plate and taking a shot on yourself is something that's going to do more for you than you could ever imagine. And I would encourage and challenge each and every one of y'all to be honest with yourself, reflect, understand what you have done to put yourself in the situation you're in and what you can do just as tangibly, just as easy to get yourself where you want to be. And that's what I would say. I hope that this inspires somebody to do that with me going out and running a race like this. And the reflection for myself, man, this is one I saw, kind of ran through my head the other day while I was on a long run at the tail end of it. While I was running, there's a picture that I always used to compare myself to, and whenever people ask what I looked like back in the day, it's a picture I always show people. It's from day 3 of 75 hard of me going through it, 230 plus pounds, shirtless. I looked like I was having a miserable time. You can see it all over my face that I was hating what I was doing. I just put in a ton of work at the gym, and I took my after photo right after I got done at the gym, and I remember hating how much I hated looking in the mirror at myself then and what I saw and the person I saw. And even whenever I lost the weight, that didn't go away because there was other factors, and I hated myself for a variety of reasons. And while I was out running, I got this picture in my head, but then I started to look at it a little bit differently, and it was huge for me. And to tell myself this is what I would say is, man, there has been a change in the past 2 or 3 years that dude that was in the mirror taking a picture of himself, shirtless, overweight, undisciplined, and not knowing what the future would hold, that dude would be so damn proud of you for what you've done in the physical aspect of your life with changing what you were on trajectory-wise for weight, for health, for the pills you were going to have to take later in your life because you didn't take care of yourself. But more than that, for the emotional side of actually being able to connect with people and invest in becoming a better human being, for growing in faith with God and actually letting yourself have the balls to do that instead of just being afraid of it, for starting a reconciliation for wrongs that I've done in my life with people that had no idea, and being honest and actually being a true person. And through the course of this, I've started to really understand and start down a path of what it's like to be a man at 28 years old. And like just remembering in that time that like that dude is proud of you. Like no matter whatever you're doing out here, how shitty you feel, how bad you feel, what's going on, what's hurting out there on this course, where you're at mentally, if it's dark and it's cold and everybody else is throwing in the towel, like that dude has no idea how you got there, but he is so freaking proud of you. And like that is the one thing that I hope I could remember and tell myself and just live in, because like finish or not, like hit my goals or not, like crossing that finish line and getting a buckle ain't what this is about, dude. That, like, actually being worth a damn as a person and bringing value to everyone, let alone myself, and having all of that rooted in faith has been the point of this entire journey. And I just want to keep that in mind while I'm out there.
Yeah. Beautifully said, man.
Appreciate it, dude. Thank you for asking that question.
You know, I think it's something to keep in mind too. You know, that dude in the mirror loves you too.
Yeah, he's learned to.
So, brother, I mean, I don't know what to, I don't know where to go after that one.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Yeah, sorry to go as deep as that, but.
No, man. I mean, it's. I knew what I was asking with that question, and such a beautiful answer. And so, you know, we're gonna get out there, and we're gonna have one heck of an adventure, man. And you know, this is some like true lifetime memory, impactful, phenomenal experiences that's just gonna stick with us, everybody, for forever. And so, you know,
yeah,
we're going out there, man. We're going out there with the right reasons, the right intentions, and you know, all glory to him. We're gonna go out there and do the dang thing. So,
yeah, amen, brother.
Well, man, was there anything else that we wanted to touch base on before we wrap this up?
Man, I don't think so. Well, one thing I will say, if you want to follow along for the adventure, the live stream will be on I think it's Mountain Outpost. I think it's Mountain Outpost YouTube page.
I believe so. Yeah.
If not, we'll have it linked on social media, most likely. And
we'll get
share
that
it
all
out
linked
there.
up.
Yeah,
for sure.
so we'll have that link out there for you to live track what we're doing, where I'm at, and also the live stream, so you can catch what it is that we're doing and maybe get invested or inspired, kind of like we did. So that'll all be shared. Then we got a cool. As of right now, we've got an awesome interview set up we're going to drop in the middle of the race as well, recapping a recent event for one of our next in line guys that has been really killing it here lately and has some exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's all I got, man.
Cool. That's all I got too, brother.
Well, you want to shut it down with a prayer, man?
Yeah, we'll knock it out, dude. So, all right, man. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you tonight just so thankful for the opportunities that you've given us, in our daily lives, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's these phenomenal adventures that you're giving us the opportunity to go take advantage of. Father, it's something that we don't take lightly, and the revelation that you're going to give us out there on the trails, out there together as a family. Lord, we're just so thankful for that opportunity. And God, while we're out there, in those times, just help us remember who it is that we look to for strength, and help us, just realize, the true purpose and reason, why we're going out and doing those things, Father. And we pray for protection, for everybody out there on the trails, everybody traveling, everybody listening, God. And if they're going through some tough times, help them see the light at the end of the tunnel, and help them realize that, they do have an impact, they do have influence over others, just as you do in our lives, God. And, what they do matters. And God, as we go through our day-to-day lives, so many times that we have temptation, but God, you don't tempt us more than we can actually handle. And so just helping us realize in those moments that, again, it's just an opportunity to lean into you. And those times that we do fall short, and Lord, they are so often, please forgive us for those times. God, we love you, and we truly praise you with everything that we do. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. That was beautiful, man. That was awesome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Well, folks, go out there, lead the way, do hard things, and always be prepared for whatever is
Next in line.
Adios, folks.